Okay friends, so in this video we're going to work on the roundhouse. So it's my opinion that you need a good roundhouse kick. This should be a staple for your martial arts. Even if you can't do these awesome head kick knockouts, you should still have a good low kick. Think about it. The attacker can't walk, they can't fight, right? Didn't they say that in the Karate Kid? Did you ever notice how there's always good input in the Karate Kid movies? Okay, anyways. So this video is going to give you ways to segment your roundhouse, how to work on each individual area of the roundhouse. We give you some flexibility and mobility routines we can go over to help with your roundhouse kick. And again, at the end of this video, hopefully you'll have a pathway to start working on your roundhouse and get it better and better and be competent in your roundhouse kick, okay? So today's video, or now's video, whenever you're watching this video, roundhouse kick. Here we go. Alright, so before we get started, let's talk about striking the surface. Most of the time, I'm shooting for the shin when I throw that roundhouse kick, okay? I don't get too close to the knee. I start from about right here where my shin starts, and I'll try to hit it right in this little zone. And here's the reason why. My foot has all of these irregular bones in them, okay? If I hit an elbow, hip, or knee, chances are I can injure myself, okay? If I'm throwing too hard, right? But if I hit an elbow, hip, or knee with my shin, you know, it still might hurt, but less likely to get injured, okay? So, most of the time I'm using my shin, especially if I'm trying to throw hard kicks, all right? That doesn't mean if I'm doing point sparring or I'm taking down the control that I won't use the ball of the foot or the instep, okay? You just need to know what you're using and why, okay? So, 3 striking surfaces. Ball of the foot, if I'm in a little bit too close to be effective with my kick, okay? Instep is fine if I'm doing point sparring and keeping down the control. Shin, if I'm trying to throw hard kicks and do some damage, okay? So, 3 striking surfaces. Know them, know why you're using them, and know how to use them, okay? Secondly, when you're doing your stretching, don't do hardcore stretching routine before you train your kicks. Do it after. You don't want to stretch hard, open up these new ranges that your body isn't used to using, and then start throwing hard kicks, okay? You can risk pulling a muscle or hurting yourself that way, okay? So do your stretching after, all right? So the video, we were breaking it down here. I'm going to show you my thoughts on the roundhouse kick, how to segment them, okay? Break it down into step by step, all right? Then I'll give you, I think there's 2 drills on how to help you do better with your roundhouse kick, okay? And then there's the stretching routine, all right? So, no further ado, did I just say that? Without any further ado, yeah, okay, yeah, I said it, right? Let's go ahead and get started with this roundhouse kick. Okay, so let's go over this roundhouse kick. I'm going to teach you 2 different ways. I'm going to teach you with the front leg roundhouse kick and the rear leg roundhouse kick. Let's do the rear leg first. So, if you're going to do your rear leg roundhouse kick, the first part to here is you got to think about your chamber. So, I'm in my fighting stance. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my knee up to a chamber, but I'm not going to come straight out in front. Because I want, when I whip my hips over, when I turn my hips over, I want this space to generate power, okay? If I come right here, I've lost all that space to generate power, okay? So when I do my roundhouse kick and chamber, I'm going to bring my knee up to the side, right? So that's the first part, knee up to the side. Right here, boom, knee up to the side. I'm just in my regular stance here, my fight stance. It's a lead stance. It's kind of a mix between a tiger stance and a lead stance. So I'm here, boom, boom. Now from here, here's where the magic happens. You got to pivot, and if you have trouble with your pivot, go back to that lesson I showed you using the table and practice that, okay? So from here, after I get my chamber, here's part one, I'm going to throw that pivot. When I'm done with my pivot, I want my heel to be pointing at what I'm kicking. Okay? So it's right here. Boom. So you got your pivot right there. You notice I come to the ball of the foot. Always pivot on the ball of the foot. Boom. Okay? And look how my ankle now is pointed to the ceiling and my knee is pointed to the wall over here. Okay? So step one, step two. Look at how my heel is now pointing forward. Okay? You want to have a good big pivot. And if you can, you see how my leg is parallel to the floor? Try to get that leg parallel to the floor. If you can't do it, that's okay. Just remember, not all of us have the mobility and the flexibility to do that, which then you should be doing the stretching routine, right? If this happens, that's okay, right? That's totally fine. Chamber, right? 1, 2. 1, 2. All right? So then, step 3. I'm going to extend the knee and let it swing through. When I do this, I'm not trying to chamber back for this one. I'll show you that as well. I'm trying to kick through. So I'll spin with this, all right? 1, 2, 3. Boom. 1, 2, 3. It's kind of hard to do slow. Let me try it faster here. Hands up. So there you go. Rear leg roundhouse kick. 3 steps there. Let's go over them again. 1, 2, okay, and then I'll add the third one. 1, 2, 3. Spin through. All right. So I'm going to show you rear leg with a cheat step. This is how I throw the roundhouse a lot. I love to throw that step into it. 1, it gets me off at an angle, okay? And if I can get this kick timed right with this step, I get to throw my body into it. Okay, so let's go over this here. Cheat step, roundhouse kick, rear leg. So you're in your same stance, same way as before. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push off my rear foot 45 degrees, okay? It's a step 45. Shuffle in, okay? 45. Boom, and that's the first step. 1. Boom. Boom. Keep my hands up. Always have your hands up. Step 1. Step 45. My toes are pointed 45 degrees. Boom. Okay, so there's 1. Now here's part 2. When you step, right, with your front foot, think about this. It's called a cheat step. So it's not so much 45 degrees anymore. As I'm opening my foot big, my toes are pointed 90 degrees here. Now my hips have no place to go except for with that step, okay? So let me see if I just do this kick here. Boy, yeah! It just, I like it because I get a little bit more momentum. My hips are already ready to go. They're loaded, ready to go because of my cheat step. And as soon as I come up, look, they just go right where I need them to be. Okay? That's why it's called a cheat step. So here we go. Cheat step, and then everything else is the same. Chamber, pivot through, extend. Okay? 1, chamber, pivot through, extend. So I still pivot. It's just not as big as a pivot anymore, right? So there's your cheat step. Step 45, rear leg roundhouse kick. Do a couple here. Some low ones. Oh yeah, love it. Here we go. Okay, so let's talk about now that rear leg roundhouse kick, but chambering it back. So I have a couple things I'd like to talk about with that. If I want to chamber my roundhouse kick back, then I'm not going to kick through. I'm going to go to the center line. And here's the reason why. So if I try to do this roundhouse kick and chamber it back, and I go past the center line, I want you to see what happens. You see how the momentum keeps going and I expose my back? It doesn't work. Well, I mean, I guess it works, but it exposes your back, okay? Now, if I go to just the center line, I keep myself in the fight and I don't expose my back because the momentum of going through doesn't take me past, right? I'm right here. So if you want to practice chambering it back, go to the center line. Okay, now let's talk about the front leg. So this is going to be a shuffle up front roundhouse kick, left side. Some people call this a question mark kick because if you look at it, the knee comes up and it draws a question mark. Let me show you. Okay, you can see why it's called a question mark, right? One of the hard things about this is the third step. There's actually like 5 steps, but you have to do 3, 4, 5 all together in order to make it work. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, not bad, not bad. So what I'm doing here is step 1, 2, I open up the hip as I pivot and then extend, okay? So there's the front leg roundhouse kick, okay? Break it down in segments. I'll show you how to do it holding something, putting your hand on the wall or using a dowel to break down those segments a little bit easier so you don't have to worry about balance, okay? So check it out. So you can use a broomstick, a PVC pipe, whatever you got, or the wall. Wall works great, just like I was showing you earlier in the drill to stop you from leaning. But here's how you break it down in segments. So I'll just hold the stick right here to my side. I'm in my same stance, hands up. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, 5. Foot down, come right back to it. So one more time. Make sure my math's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there you go, friends. Way to break down the front leg roundhouse kick in segments, also known as a question mark kick for the obvious reasons. For me personally, if I'm going to throw this front leg as a roundhouse kick, I almost always step through. So my back foot takes an angle, and now look, my front foot has become my rear foot, and I just do the same roundhouse kick with the rear foot, okay? I like that a little bit better. It works better for me as far as setting up the strike and using the strike in sparring, okay? So from here, all you're doing, just like when you were step 45 this way, to throw the roundhouse kick with the lead foot, I'm just going to do what's called a step through now. With the rear foot, step 45, and now I'm in that same position, going the other way. Boom. Throw that roundhouse kick. There's also the switch step roundhouse kick. So that's kind of what I'm doing, although I'm not switching my feet, I'm stepping through, okay? So from here, the switch step just goes like this. All I'm going to do is take my left foot, that's in front, and switch it with my right foot, that's in back. It just goes, whoop, whoop. And I want you to notice this little hiccup. Pop, pop, okay? Some people do it like this, land at the same time, okay? I like for my front foot when I put it back to land slightly before, okay? What this does is it gives me a little push off. It takes a step out of it. So if I go like this, then push off, there's an extra step. If I let my front foot land slightly before, I can push off right there. Okay, so that's your switch step. And then you just do a roundhouse kick with that rear foot. Boom. Woo! Boom. Practice that. Okay, it's fun. It's a really good drill to try. And if you can get that down, it's a great tool because these little movements where I'm like, it can psych people out for a half second. And if you can take advantage of that time, that half second, it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing, right? If you can be a half second ahead of your opponent every time, oh yeah, it's going to be a great thing. Okay? Good. All right, so the last way I'm going to show you to do the roundhouse is what I've called, or also heard called, lazy roundhouse. It's the 45-degree roundhouse. All it is, instead of turning your hips all the way over, boom, is I just open them up a little bit. My knee comes at a 45-degree angle, and it comes from there. It comes at a 45-degree angle. You can go high with it, low with it. It's just a lazy way to do the roundhouse without opening your hips all the way. One thing I really like about this is, especially for people with bad hip mobility, a lot of times when people with bad hip mobility, they can get their leg up here in front. But once they turn their hips over, their leg goes down like that because they can't open it up as much to the side. With a 45-degree roundhouse, you don't have to worry about that. You can come here, keep your head in the game, keep your fight in the game, and it's more effective, especially for people with bad hips. Okay? So let's break it down. Usually I'll open up the foot for this one. Boom. Especially if I'm bringing my knee to a chamber in front. Okay? Here, open, knee. Now, the next step, pivot, brings your knee to a 45, extend, back, and down. Okay? So, boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 and back. You can still open up your knee to the side, like before I was showing you with the regular roundhouse. I come to the side and boy, chop it down. So you can still do that with a 45-degree. Open it up, boom, to the side. Okay? If I chamber off to the side, I don't have to open up my foot, right? Your pivot doesn't have to be as big here, right? Knee at 45-degree angle. Any height you need. Boom, low, medium, high. Generally, when I do this one, I use the ball of the foot, but you can use the shin instead. All will work. Okay, people with bad hips still develop that 45-degree roundhouse. All right. Here it comes. Okay, so if you have a heavy bag to work with, this is another way to learn the roundhouse kick. I learned this from Sifu Jeremy, so I must give credit to him, and I love it. I teach new students this way to learn the roundhouse kick quite often, okay? Even if you learn it one way, you can always go over something else and broaden the way you understand the technique. So, the first part here, I'll do my left leg just so you can see. All you're going to do for this first part is just swing your leg, okay? See how high you can get it, right? So I open up my front foot and I just swing that leg, okay? And, you know, if this is as high as you can get it, that's fine, okay? So this is the first part, just swing, okay? Once you feel good with that, you got a good swing here. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to pivot and bend your knee flexion. And I'm going to rest your shin right here on the back, so it looks like this. Okay, I'll do the other, you'll be able to see with the other leg better. So here, boom, pivot, Now I'm resting my shin right on the bag. I got my instep and my shin hooked on the bag like so, okay? So, swing, pivot, rest. Swing, pivot, rest. The next thing you're going to do is once you get to that rest after your pivot, you're going to push off. So I'm here, swing, pivot. Now I'm going to drive my leg, push through the bag, boom. Take my foot back to where I picked it up from, okay? Boom. Swing, pivot, push. Swing, pivot, push. Once you get all three down, you're going to let it flow. The push, what we're actually doing here, is you're penetrating the bag. Penetrating the bag. I talked about it before. You penetrate, boom, and then you pull it back. It helps you get a little bit deeper, right? If you're doing a good leg kick or a good body kick, if you do that push, boom, it's like you penetrate your target. Okay, so it looks like this. Boom, and then I push off. Switch sides. Okay, this is a very, very good way to learn the roundhouse kick. One of my favorites. It helps to have some resistance though. Okay, it really helps to have some resistance. If I do this without a bag, it's hard for me to get that push, right? It's just not there. So that's why that heavy bag, you can get that good penetration and drive. Okay, so good. Sifu Jeremy taught me this. Sifu Jeremy, thank you. It's another way to do the roundhouse kick. All right, so here's a little drill to help you with your roundhouse kick. It takes some of the pressure, some of the weight off of your pivot, and it also helps you learn how to open up your hips when you're doing this kick. So you're going to set your heel on a table, whatever you have, whatever flat surface, and it can be as low as you need or as high as you need, okay? From here now, this is going to take some of the weight off of my pivot, and all I want you to do is you're going to come to the ball of your foot, pivot, and then open the hips. If you notice now, my toes are facing this direction. They're not facing up anymore, okay? I let my hip follow the pivot. And watch when I come back. Follows the pivot. So these are working together here, okay? Just like so. And this is a good drill to help you start to tie together your kicking leg and your pivot. So again, heel on whatever surface you're using. Okay, hands up. I'm going to pivot. When I pivot, I'm not going to come up tall. I'm going to let myself sink, and I'm going to let my hip and my kicking leg follow the pivot. Just remember, we need them to work as one. Yeah, just like so. And you do that about 1,000 times. All right. Okay, so here's a drill you can use to stop leaning. A lot of times when people are learning this, there's a chance that you develop a bad habit in that anytime I throw this kick, I like to bring my head in, right? So you see people go, right? It's like I'm coming in so I can look at my foot, right? You don't want to do that. You want your body to be, boom, aligned. Okay? So you can do this with your front leg and your rear leg. You can either use your hands on the wall for balance or just let them hang out here. So if I'm using my hands on the wall for balance, it's going to look like this. I'm basically in a tiger stance here. Shuffle up, knee comes up, and now when I do the kick, I pivot and I keep my head in this alignment here. I don't let it lean forward so it doesn't touch the wall, right? I don't want my knee or any part of the kick to touch the wall. So if this happens, right, or that, you know you're off.
okay? This is a great drill to help with that leaning. If I'm using my rear leg, so if you want to use your rear leg and do it with balance, you have to grab as that foot comes around, okay? And I don't want any part of my body to touch the wall. So even when I do the kick, I'm not going bam, my shoulder, nothing. Right here. It's a little bit easier to do this drill with the front leg, but it still works with the rear leg. Okay, if you look here, I'm looking down my shoulder. I got that alignment there. Okay, so this is the wall drill. Use the wall to stop yourself from leaning.
All right. Okay, so if you have tight hips, you're not going to have a good time kicking. One of the best things you can do for hip health is the 90-90. All right, so let's talk about the 90-90. It's called the 90-90 because off of my front leg, coming straight off of my hip, I have a 90-degree angle here. Okay, my back leg, coming the side off of my hip, I have a 90-degree in the back. Okay, so there's the 90-90. All right, my posture, I want to be up straight. One thing people do wrong from time to time is they let themselves just lean to the side. Don't do that. Try to sit up as straight as you can, okay? As tall as you can. So I'm this way, with my 90-90, coming up as tall as I can. Next thing that I want you to think about is your tailbone, okay? So here, let me show you. The back of my tailbone, right here. What I want to do is I want to think about my tailbone pointing it back and up to the ceiling. Okay, this is going to put that in place for a good stretch. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my belly button and I'm going to come forward towards my knee. Another common mistake people make from time to time is they'll just relax and do this. You're not stretching anything when you do that. Well, you might be getting a little stretch, but you're not getting as much as you could, okay? So from here, my posture is nice and tall, okay? Tailbone pointed back into the ceiling, okay? My belly button's coming forward towards my knee, and I should already feel a good stretch there, right? And that's good, that's perfect. You don't want to push past what your body can do, okay? So from here, I can either put my hands up, make it a little bit more difficult, or I'll just use my kickstands, place them on the mat, okay, in a comfortable position. So from here, my back is nice and straight. I've pointed my tailbone back into the ceiling. My belly button's coming towards my knee, and then I hang out here. And here's the part you're not going to like. You got to hold it for at least 2 minutes. So I would like it if I can only hold it for 30 seconds. And that would be a lot better for me, because sometimes I'm lazy. Not so much anymore, but sometimes. Hold it for 2 minutes. The latest literature on stretching says that that's the time where cells start to send signals to the surrounding cells. So if I have a clump of cells here, right? See all these cells right here, okay? And I only hold it for 30 seconds, they don't send messages to all the cells around. And then they don't send messages to the cells out here. And then so on and so forth. So if I can hold it longer, it's sending the signals to the area that I want to get more flexible longer. And it's sending the information to a greater amount of cells in the area, okay? So, you're 90-90, you're up tall, tailbone's back into the ceiling. I'm not loosening and arching over. I'm keeping my back nice and tall, nice and tight. I put some tension through here. Come forward, hold for 2 minutes. So you can do this while you're watching TV, Netflix, helping your kids with your homework. Are you still doing homework now? I don't know. Read a book, that's a good thing. Go over your blue book, right? Find something that you can do. You can multitask here, right? But you gotta hold it for at least 2 minutes, okay? You can do that. If you can get that 2 minutes in there, that's great. But if you can add another 2 sets, it's perfect.
perfect. Think about it. 6 minutes every other day for better hips. I think it's worth it, right? Both legs, okay? So I guess that'd be 12 minutes. Awesome. All right, so that was the 90-90 for the front leg. So we're gonna take that same 90-90, right? I got my right leg forward, and now instead of hinging forward and working on that front hip, we're gonna work on the back hip from the same position. So I'm going to leave my right arm forward, my right leg forward, and I'm gonna rotate this other hand back and try to bring it to the mat, okay? This one, don't sit up tall. You wanna actually try to align your body with your leg here, and then you're gonna reach behind you and try to turn. This is gonna work the hip capsule. It's gonna feel a little bit awkward. It's not like a regular stretch. We're trying to open up space in the hip capsule here. This is for internal hip rotation, okay? If you're having issue with your knee on the inside here, if you have some knee issues, just close the angle, okay? That should help. Yeah. And here, I'm gonna work this for another 2 minutes here, okay? And that's gonna help the rear leg internal hip rotation, okay? So, forward, we're working external hip rotation. Rear leg, we're working internal hip rotation, okay? So, if you can do both legs, you're working internal and external hip rotation. I'll hold my front leg for 2 minutes here, then I'll hold the rear leg for 2 minutes here, and then I'll switch legs and do the same thing. Front leg, external hip rotation. Rear leg, internal hip rotation. All right? 2 minutes each. So if you do both legs, both sides, that's a total of 8 minutes, right? If you do that every other day, your hips are gonna love you. And they're gonna help your roundhouse kicks, okay? So 90-90, internal, external hip rotation. Every other day while you're watching TV or reading or whatever, in 2 to 3 months, your hips are gonna love you, all right? So let's get it done. No excuses. Okay, so now let's talk about the glutes. So from here, what we're gonna do is called the number 4 position, the number 4. You're going to, right now I'm gonna have my right leg forward, and I'm going to bend my knee on my left leg. I'm gonna set the bottom of my foot right on the inside of my leg here. See? And then from here, I don't actually want to have my legs straight. Think about it. We're trying to stretch the glutes. We're not worried about all this stuff down here, okay? So my glutes attach right behind here in my knee. So I don't have to have my knee straight to get to that, okay? A little bit of a bend here, and that's actually going to protect my knee as well. Same thing with the 90-90. I'm going to point my tailbone back into the ceiling. My posture is nice and straight. And then I have my arms up in front of me and I reach. I just go to that point where I feel a good stretch, and then I can rest my hands. It's not about curving your back and touching your toes, okay? I can touch my toes like that easy, but with my back nice and straight, my knee slightly bent, and all those cues with my tailbone going back into the ceiling with tension through my spine, I'm actually gonna get a better stretch for my glutes here, okay? So both legs, remember, 2 minutes each, at least. If you can add another 2 to 3 sets, beautiful. Number 4, sit. Okay, so let's talk about opening up the hips now. There's a lot of ways to do it, and I'm gonna show you the horse sit, okay? So it's just like I'm getting in a horse stance, but I'm sitting, okay? And instead of having my toes 45 degrees this way, I'm gonna open them up, and now my feet are sitting on the mat here, okay? What I like to do is I'll grab the bottom of my feet and I'll pull up so I can get that nice and wide up in there, okay? From here, same thing with your back, nice and straight, up tall. And I'm just gonna place my elbows on the inside of my knee, grab my shins, and I'm gonna push out here. And this is all you gotta do. You just gotta sit here and hold this. You can start to hinge forward to open it a little bit more. If you find that you just can't get a good stretch from here, you can do one leg at a time.
When I come up and I push harder, switch sides, boom, 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 right? Same kind of thing you can do the butterfly stretch, although the horse sit, I feel like I can get a better stretch, just because if you look at me here in the butterfly position, my knees are already on the mat, okay? Here I have quite a bit more space to go and I can get a good stretch in there. But you can do the same thing with the butterfly position. Butterfly position, I place my hands on my shin, push my elbows down into the knee, or you can use your hands here and push. Same thing here, if you have flexibility, mobility, where your knees are already coming to the mat, what I'll do is I'll anchor down one side, grab the shin, hinge over, boop, and then I'll push one leg down at a time, okay? Do the same thing here. When we do one leg at a time. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. No excuses. All right, so next we have the splits, okay? And first let's touch base on those of us that just cannot open our legs wide at all. We just have no flexibility in here, and we cannot open deep. So that is totally fine. You're gonna work within your range. So if that's you, you can barely open your legs, right? I want you to get them as deep open as you can, okay? You're going to keep your back nice and straight, and we're not even worried about our hands in front, because if you can barely open your legs and you have to round your back to get deep here with your hands, then you're not doing yourself a service. It's not a good stretch. So, hands behind, back nice and straight, and try to walk them as close to your hips as you can get them, okay? If this is you, that's fine. Work in within your range, okay? And then you'll do one side, hold, the other side, hold, and then do the middle, okay? But if you can open your legs wide and you can do a better stretch than that, a better splits, start like this. Get your legs as wide open as you can, okay? And then how I like to get a little bit deeper is I'll place one hand on front, one hand in the back. I lift and drive forward, okay? Boom. Boom. And I get them open nice and deep. I'm not trying to pass through my end range. I'm just getting to that end range so I can do my work from there, okay? So, rotate, reach, okay, for one side and hold. And remember, it's not about rounding my back. I'm still keeping my back as straight as I can here. And hinging over. And then rotate and hold. Okay? So you do one side, then the other, and then you're going to come to the center. Okay? So I'm hinging at my hips, walking my hands as deep as I can get, and I'm holding. Okay? And I know I've been talking about 2 minutes, but if you're in any of these stretches that it's just too hard for you to hold for 2 minutes, try to work your way up, okay? Maybe you do it 30 seconds and then rest, 30 seconds, this kind of thing. But just know that the longer you can send your signals through your stretch, the better, okay? So try to work your way up to 2 minutes. But, if you can't do it, don't worry about it. So, I'm reaching forward, and then I'm hanging out, okay? Working within my ability, okay? What I'll do from here is I'll, mess around with my phone, right? Read martial arts philosophy, right? Watch some videos, just hang out, right? And I'll try to hold the signal as long as I can, okay? So do your stretches. Get your kicks better. All right? All right, so also for our kicks, we need good flexibility through our core. We can't have a tight core if we're trying to open our hips and really whip those kicks in there, so we need to stretch our abdominal muscles, right? This is a good one. This is called the Cobra. Oh, good, so I got my arms right under my shoulders here, and my hands are flat on the mat. I like to point my toes, and and then I'm just gonna try to relax my core and let my hips come to the mat. Sometimes what you'll have is people don't have enough flexibility through here to do this, so you can walk your hands out, right? That's gonna relieve a little bit more tension on that stretch, or you can actually come to your elbows, whatever you need to do to get a good stretch through there. Another thing I like to do through here is I'll rock my shoulders forward, and I strongly suggest if you have any kind of low back issues, be really careful. Ease your way into this one, right? I'm not just gonna come right here and be like, BAM! Okay? Maybe start out here, feel it, make sure this is okay. Walk my hands back, feel it, right? And then work your way up. You're just relaxed, hanging out here, really stretching those core muscles out. So finally we have our lower back. This is just one way to do it. There's all kinds of ways to stretch your body. You can use any of the ones I've showed you today, or just try to work the same muscles that I went through here. Just look some stuff up, right? It's easy. You get so much information at your fingertips. One I really like to do is I'll have my left leg forward. I'll take my right leg. I'll come sit on the outside, my leg, sit it on the outside of my left leg. I try to have my foot flat, if you can, right? And then I'm going to take the same leg that's straight, that same arm, I'm going to rotate and set my elbow right here, whoo, on the inside of my knee here, and I'm going to look behind me. I'm just going to hang out here, okay? Right? Switch sides. You want to do both sides, of course. Still have your back nice and straight. None of this stuff, right? My back is nice and straight. If you have the flexibility to do it, to make it a little bit harder, I'll take my hand, grab here if you can, but that's not so necessary. Look behind you and hold for how long? That's right. Please, please, stretch your body, okay? Get your kicks better. All right. All right. So here's a roundhouse drill you can do for the heavy bag. You're going to break the heavy bag up into 3 different sections. You got high, medium, low, and you use both legs. I'll do 3 on each side just to show you, but you can do whatever number, 20 if you're trying to get a good workout in, do 50, right? So I'm going to go low 3 times, low. I'm going to go medium. I'm going to go high. And you're going to switch legs. Low. Medium. Then high. Right? 20 on each side, that's a great workout. And it's a really good way to start to develop that roundhouse kick. If you're going for speed, you're going to do it without putting your kicking leg back, right? So instead of throwing this here and putting my leg all the way back, I'm going to boom, drop it, and throw it right from that spot. So one pivot, and you throw it from that one pivot, right? So it goes. I am getting a little pivot in there, but for the main part of it, my hips are just left open. All right, so once you've segmented your kick, went through all of the layers of the technique, and you drill to get yourself proficient and competent in the technique, then you just practice throwing it, right? How I like to do it sometimes is I'll just go slow. It's a lot harder, hopefully you guys have noticed, to do some techniques slow than it is fast. So that's why I'll do them slow, right? Think about shadow boxing. I'll just throw some kicks out, let it flow. Boom, just nice and easy, nice and slow. Move my body, shuffle up, boom, whatever comes to mind, right? Boom, just throw them out. Go high, go low. Ooh. snap it back. Ooh, right? Got some fancy head kicks, those are always fun, right? Boom, switch steps, shuffle up, boom, just start to create and flow off of it. It's important. And remember how our bodies learn. We first got to go over slowly so we can send those signals to our nervous system, right? And then we start to speed it up, practice it faster and with power, and before you know it, you have an awesome roundhouse kick, and you can put it into your sparring, into your martial arts, right? So, thank you so much for practicing this. Again, I hope you all are doing well out there, taking care of yourselves. Remember, good martial arts should be also used in everyday life, okay? Hopefully you guys have been watching the fighting principles I've been putting out. I've been liking a lot working with those. And I want you guys to go over them. I want you really to think about them. Really put it in your mind. How can I use setups? How can I use positioning? How can I use my fighting principles in my martial arts, all right? So I'll see you soon, my friends. Much love.